Now let us see the explanation of the story, the day of the bare feet. Four short words sum up what has lifted successful individuals above the crowd a little bit more. They did all that was expected of them and a little bit more.
It was July 29th, 1911. The crowds were flocking towards Calcutta football ground. Even though football was a passion in Bengal and more so in Calcutta, now Kolkata. This day was still a special one for the Bengali and indeed Indian football fans.
Here, the word flocking means gathering together in large number, like when there is any fair, people gather in large number together. The IFA, that is Indian Football Association, was going to take place in Bengal, Calcutta. And therefore, thousands of people were gathering. They were flocking to watch the match. It happened so because the Indian team Mohan Bagan of Calcutta was going to play the final match with the East Yorkshire, which is why it was very special for Bengali as well as Indian football fans.
It was going to be a meeting between a club of a ruled country and a club that represented its rulers. A team that played bare feet, bearing one player, was going to play against a team that played with boots. Mohan Bagan of Calcutta were scheduled to play the East Yorkshire Regiment in the final of one of the country's biggest football tournaments, the IFA Shield.
Here, the match was going to be played between a club of ruled country, that is Mohan Bagan of Calcutta, and a club that represented two rulers, that is East Yorkshire, the British team. The interesting thing was that in Mohan Bagan of Calcutta, except one player, that is perhaps goalkeeper, played with boots, but the other players didn't wear boots. They played without the boots. Whereas the opposite team played the match with boots. And you know what? The author says that this final tournament was one of the biggest country's tournament, the IFA Shield, that is Indian Football Association.
A few weeks ago, Any thought of an Indian team reaching the final of the tournament would have been dismissed as pure fantasy. The IFA Shield had been more or less dominated by British teams since its inception in 1893. India teams had played but with limited success. And as team after team failed, a myth had been born. The British teams were impossible to beat.
Before India entered in final match, people had fantasy. Here fantasy means unreal. People thought that it is fantasy for Indian to enter into final match. Since the inception of IFA Shield in 1893, British teams defeated Indian. They dominated India. Here, inception means beginning, initially, and dominated means controlled. The author says that Indian team had played football match several times with British team. Probably India won perhaps one or two match. Which is why perhaps people had myth. Here myth means belief that is false. That British team cannot be defeated ever. Here the word to beat. The British teams were impossible to beat. Here the word beat means to defeat. Beat does not mean beating with a stick to someone, but beat means to defeat any team.
This year, an Indian team had set about dismantling the myth. Although playing bare feet, the players felt that this allowed them to get a better feel of the football. The team had first thrashed St. Xavier's College, then defeated Rangers and made it to the semi-final by beating the Rifle Brigade. Many had felt that that was as far as they would go, as their opponents were the formidable Middlesex Regiment, a very strong British team.
Here the author says that the myth that people had about British team was that it is impossible to defeat, it is impossible to beat, but the Indian team determined to dismantle. Here dismantle means finish or end the myth that Indian had. Indian team had made up the mind to finish the myth, and the Indian team, Mohan Bagan of Calcutta, began to play the match without boots or bare feet. The Indian team felt that bare feet would give better experience, better feeling, better feel about football match, and they began to play without boots. This is how Mohan Bagan of Kolkata or Calcutta began to defeat 4 teams one by one easily without boots. In the first round, Mohan Bagan defeated St. Xavier's College. In the second round, it defeated Rangers and entered into semi-final by defeating Rifle Brigade. And now people thought that Indian team would play semi-final with a very strong British team, Middlesex Regiment, which was formidable, which was impossible. Here, formidable means excellent, extremely good or impressive team. They thought that this team was very strong one, and that is why it would be impossible for Mohan Bagan of Calcutta to defeat Middlesex, a very strong British team. Let us see in the next paragraph whether Mohan Bagan defeats Middlesex Regiment in semi-final or not.